This is skrei, Arctic cod that swims down from the Barents Sea every winter to spawn, and it is some of the best fish you can pull out of the ocean anywhere in the world. But the end of this video is actually going to end up as this. This is real traditional Norwegian Lutefisk made completely from scratch. But getting there turned into a bit of a story. I actually caught this fish at the very end of skrei season, way up north in Finnmark, at the very north of Norway. But since our boat got damaged, I couldn't bring the fish back the normal way. So me and Dad did the only sensible thing. We took my fish and we filleted it into nice boneless fillets, packed it in pure salt for a few days as we were driving down to get the boat repaired. And here's the thing, I had to fly home. So I actually packed the fish into my bag, checked it onto the plane and flew home while the boat was being repaired. That is just the beginning, because what I really wanted to show you here was how I bring this fish home to my grandfather and how we preserve it the old way. And this is a way our family has done it here on the coast for generations. There will be no machines, just salt, air, time, and some lye. So first there is the salting, there is weeks of drying, there is the lute process itself, and then somewhere in the middle of all of this, I actually wake up to my grandfather going at fish with a power saw. So I guess there technically is some machines involved there. So stick around because the result is worth it. So let's dive into it. So did you know that most of the skrei you buy in shops these days is actually dried indoors with machines? But our traditional way is the way that's still done in lots of parts of Norway. It is done outside with nothing but salt and the weather. And it is said that the natural way actually tastes better. So therefore, that is exactly what we're doing here. First, it's the salt. We pack this in pure salt and leave it for 7 to 10 days generally. These are quite thinly cut fillets as well, so they do absorb the salt a little bit faster than full fish. So what happens is that the salt draws the moisture out and protects the fish. And down here on the west coast, we actually have to salt it first because our climate is simply too wet and too mild to just hang the fish up straight away. It would just rot before it dried. Further north, the area is a lot drier, therefore they can actually make stock fish with no salt at all. But sadly down here, salt has to come first. Now, after the salt, we actually hang the fish up to dry here. And this is the part where most people get it wrong. Now, grandfather has gotten it wrong in the past as well, and he had to learn this the hard way. So we usually dry the fish for about a month. Grandfather says 4 to 6 weeks, but the number of weeks isn't really the main point here. We usually do it in the spring, but the real thing that decides is the weather and the actual humidity in the air. So the fish hangs under a roof out of the rain, but it is important that there is air freely moving around it. Now, grandfather has tried drying them inside in a big, a little bit airy shed before, protected by walls that is, but that did not work because actually some black mold started to form on the outside of the fish, and he reckons that this was because there simply wasn't enough airflow in there. So therefore you have to hang it somewhere where the air can really move over them. And here's a tip you'll only get from doing this your whole life. Damp in the air can actually make the fish start dripping a little bit, even if it hangs under a roof and it's protected from the rain. Therefore, you really want to let the fish dry long enough to form a skin, like a kind of a crust on the outside, before it starts taking any signs of rain around the fish. Because once that little crust has started forming there, a little bit of weather around it, like moisture around the fish, won't ruin it. But early on, you really need to find a period where it's quite dry, so that process can get started on its own. So once the fish is dried, it's very hard to the touch and it's super salty if you taste it. So therefore it's very preserved. But if you taste it, you will know that we have to do some more stuff to it, which is watering it out to pull out all the salt before we can continue to work with it. Now, this next little part is kind of funny. Grandfather did another step to his fish, I suppose. I was sleeping and I heard the power saw going outside. A little bit later, I had a coffee and walked outside. And when I got out, grandfather was standing there, fish dust spread all around him and all over his clothes, because he had taken a circle saw to his dried fish and cut the whole lot into perfectly sized pieces. So that's grandfather to you. So he used to be a builder, therefore he has this huge garage full of every type of tool, both electric and manual. And apparently a circle saw is exactly the right tool for this job. So at this point, the fish goes two ways. Like I said, I put a portion of mine to the side to keep it dry for later. And I took a portion to turn into lutefisk and some to simply water out, salted, in order to eat it later on. So as you see here, grandfather is doing this to his own fish too.
Hvor lenge kommer ut til deg bestemor etter dette?
Jag säger att det är 40 till 50 mot 40-50 gånger.
Så et par måneder da.
But he prefers ling over cod. That is because cod comes out a lot more flaky in the meat, and he and grandmother thinks it has a lot less taste when luted compared to ling. So he does it with lange, as we say in Norway, or ling in English, and I continue with the skrei. Here comes the luting part, and this is where we turn this salty dried fish into lutefisk. So grandfather's method is what he calls 4-4-4. So that's 4 days of watering the fish out, and then there are 4 days keeping the fish in lye. And then another 4 days watering out the fish again to get rid of the lye. If the lye is quite strong, you can try keeping it in lye for 3 days instead of 4. And for skrei in general, I'd say that 3 days is probably plenty for even weekly lye water, because the cod seems to take the lye quite a bit quicker compared to the ling. Now for the lye itself, grandfather's favorite is using kristallsoda, which is washing soda in English.
Jag brukar 3 ton aktivita.
Ja.
5 år i hvert fall. Av og til blir det väldigt märkt.
Så jeg har 10 stykker da, cirka?
Ja, det ska godtas.
Ja, her kan du vaske klærne også samtidig.
Det kan du trycka göra. Ja. Det är mycket lättare för att få regn från renare och ut av fisken.
Så kaustisk soda,
Då är det mycket lättare. Då brukar vi ändå bara 2 spiseskjeer på 10 liter eller 20 liter.
steike.
Då får jag det.
Ja.
Det är väldigt vanskligt för att det de ser det är hvis fisken får skickla ut. Så ser du att det skummar när du kokar den upp på fisk. Jag tänker på att det är lite mer luting.
Ja.
Det är på såpor på någon googlar.
Sånn det ja.
Ja.
Now, in the old days, lye actually came from birch or beech wood ashes, so it was boiled up by families at home. There's even this legend that lutefisk was discovered when a fishing village was burned down by some Vikings, and then the ash fell down on a rack of drying fish, and rain started soaking this ash, which turned it into kind of a natural lye. And apparently somebody decided, that looks interesting, and tried it afterwards and found out that it was actually quite tasty. So what lye does is break down the fish, so it swells up a lot, and the proteins in the fish actually change, and that is what gives lutefisk this famously jelly-like texture. After the lye, we water it out one more time. So about 4 days, changing the water as we go. So this part matters very much because it washes the lye back out of the fish so that it's safe to eat. So you need to do this properly so that you're left with a clean, mild lutefisk that is ready to go. And now it is actually ready. So therefore the last job here is going to be to portion it all up. We bag it depending on how much people like to eat at once. Usually enough for 2 people in each bag, but of course this is depending on preference. And we did this part together this year. So it was me, my father, my grandfather and grandmother all working away, portioning it up. So most of this goes straight into the freezer. So there is good fish to pull like all through the year, and we made a lot, as you can see here. But we did keep some aside because, of course, we had to taste the freshly made lutefisk. So this first portion is going to be the ling lutefisk done the traditional Norwegian way. Let me tell you quickly about how this is put together. So grandma boils this up for about 8 minutes. Now, traditionally, lutefisk is served with yellow peas, potatoes, with some bacon on top. Now, in later years, it has gotten quite popular to put brown cheese on top as well. Even some people like to use sweet mustard. It is very delicious adding this, especially brown cheese, I think. But I will say that you should try it without this as well, as these condiments really start masking the taste of the fish a lot. Grandpa, for example, refuses to put any of this on his fish. He just goes with the yellow peas, potatoes, and bacon. And the texture It's fantastic on this lutefisk. It is kind of flaky, kind of jello-y. As you can see, it's not super heavily luted, so you still have a little bit of bite left in it as well. But it is super tasty and delicious, and quite a unique taste experience compared to regular fish. I want to give you some quick clips of me cooking up the skrei here as well, since it's kind of like the end of skrei season, and I'm super excited to show this off to you as well. This skrei that I caught at the very end of the season, carried home in a suitcase, salted and dried in the spring with grandfather, and then finish it the same way that grandfather has done, like probably for 60 plus years at this point. Super awesome. For me, this was never really about just the fishing. It's also about keeping something that's traditional alive. This could so easily be lost. So I'm going to add an exact like recipe step by step, put it together for you over on the website, and add a link in the description if you're interested in seeing it. As for the taste of the skrei lutefisk, super flaky and a lot more jello-y. Since I said, it takes the lute a lot quicker than the ling seems to do. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and following along here. Subscribe if you're interested in seeing more, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.